Hey, friends. This is Martine Williams, and I am obsessed with all things mompreneur life and helping you to remix your priorities, your habits, your mindsets, and yes, even your relationships so that you can build a successful business without losing yourself in the process. I'm also obsessed with the color turquoise and lyrics of the 80s and 90s, but that's beside the point. Girlfriend, you don't have to hustle 24/7, 365 and continue to sacrifice your health, your relationships, and your sanity to be a successful mompreneur. As a small town girl living in a lonely world to a six-figure mompreneur, I am here to teach you how. There is a better way, and this podcast is your one-stop shop for all of the how-tos, the encouragement, the life hacks, the success tips, and of course, a little side of tough love. This is the Mompreneur Life Remixed podcast. So let's do this. Well, hey, friends. Today's episode is going to be unlike any episode we have had here on the podcast. Really excited for you to hear this episode. It's very specific. So let me just tell you a little bit about our guest. So it is a Turquoise Talk episode, and my guest today is Katrina Foe, and she is a second-generation Pilates instructor, NCPT certified, and the owner of Personalized Pilates in Scottsdale, Arizona. Katrina was trained by Lolita San Miguel before teaching alongside her as her anatomy teacher. She has run her Pilates studio from another state for over 10 years, and over the last 20 years has trained over 1,000 Pilates instructors worldwide with her innovative online Pilates teacher training program. While online, her Pilates teacher training program is structured very intentionally so that students leave with a profound understanding and deep skills without being overwhelmed. She also has an upcoming book, Nutritional Pilates, and we will include the show links in the show notes, links to how you can get a free hard copy of that book. Super kind of Katrina to gift that to all of our listeners. One of Katrina's proudest accomplishments is that she was able to successfully address her own cancer 100% naturally. After her cancer journey, Katrina became board certified in holistic nutrition and trained to read functional labs. Now a certified metabolic approach to cancer practitioner, Katrina is faculty at Restorative Wellness Solutions, where they address the root cause of why cancer was allowed to proliferate, how to put cancer into remission, and work to educate clients on how to keep it there. So really interesting conversation on holistic medicine, on the right test you should be having run, her cancer journey, what she does for her clients. And just, I think we need to be talking more about this just to bring awareness. Now, what you choose to do with that information, if you want to stick to traditional medicine, or if you're, wanting to look for more holistic, natural ways, there are people like Katrina out there who have a passion for it and who have had the results personally. So I know you're going to enjoy this episode. If you know anyone who is currently diagnosed with cancer, or just wanting to learn how to better take care of your health as a woman, this is an episode for you. So from a holistic standpoint, this is definitely an episode for you. Please welcome Miss Katrina Foe. Welcome back, friends, to the Mompreneur Life Remix podcast. This is your host, Martine Williams. If this is your first time joining one of my episodes, thank you so much for joining. We will always find encouragement on this podcast. And I do Turquoise Talk episodes. This is where I bring on other mompreneurs and professionals in the areas of mompreneur life to kind of share their journey, share their stories with you. And so today I'm super excited to have Katrina Foe. Did I say your last name right? I didn't even ask you. Is that right? Okay.
Don't worry, I'm friendly.
Okay, good. I love that. So super excited to have you on the show, Katrina. And just really excited to learn more about your story and your expertise. And I know the mompreneurs are going to love what you have to say today. So thanks for taking the time.
Absolutely. I am so excited. Mompreneurs is like, that's like right there what I'm all about. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about you and your family and kind of how you came into this space as an entrepreneur and building businesses and writing books.
Yeah. So I have 7 children, which that's usually the fun part, watching people's faces, not a podcast. I can't see people's faces and they go, No twins, just 7 plain old boring single pregnancies. We moved out of the city about 10 years ago and live out in the middle of the country, literally in the middle of nowhere up in Idaho, in the mountains. And we have about 15 acres and we raise our own cows and chickens. And we have a whole bunch of dogs and cats and things running around. So
wow.
A little different lifestyle there.
Well, fun fact before you go into more detail, I don't know, and I honestly don't even know where Idaho came from for us, but my husband and I have said just over the years, as crazy as the world seems to be getting, we've just said we're just going to buy some land in Idaho and build our own little, like, invite only a few families that we actually want to do life with. I don't know why Idaho.
Come on up.
I really don't know why Idaho, but you're actually explaining exactly what we have pictured that we would do if we just wanted to, like, move and, like, be off the grid.
There's a lot of people here that have moved there for those reasons, and you would be in good company.
Okay. So we're not crazy. We didn't just, like, come out of the blue. Okay.
No, not at all. No, we had some health struggles. And as a mom, it broke my heart. My daughter, my oldest at 3 was having some tooth pain, and we went in, took her to the dentist, and they're like, oh, she needs 8 fillings and 3 baby root canals. And I'm like, what?
Right. Yeah.
And I got like 4 second opinions, and she has some stuff going on. Like, and we started doing some work, and we realized that we could stop the decay that was continuing and get it addressed with diet and with lifestyle stuff, which was kind of mind blowing for me. But it put us on this trajectory that I thought was really interesting, because as a mom, there's nothing more frightening than seeing your child have some kind of an issue and you're like, I don't know what to do. And you have to, like, dig in and figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah. So was that kind of the first thing that took you on this, like, holistic journey, or was something that you personally, went through as well?
No, that was the first, like, setting the stage for, like, I had the idea and we had seen the proof in the pudding of we could stop that and we could shift things with nutrition, how powerful food is. And it still blows my mind every day, like how amazing food is.
Yeah.
But then fast forward, when I got a cancer diagnosis, I was super frustrated, because I'm like, oh my gosh, we've been doing all the stuff. We moved out of the country. We're raising our own food. Like, what the heck? And I'm like, I need to start over. I need to figure this out. Like, clearly something I'm doing is not working. And so it was all open. But because we had the tooth thing going on, I knew already that I didn't want what oncology was offering. And there's nothing wrong with doing traditional oncology, but I knew that the body was really powerful and that I needed to address the why behind it.
Right.
So I had kind of a different journey, in that I didn't actually go to the oncologist. I did some different testing to get all the information that I needed. So yeah, that was really nice setup to then be able to jump into it. Because I know a lot of times when clients have a cancer diagnosis and they come to me now, they're like, they don't really have that grounding of food as medicine can heal. And, let's look at the root cause from prior things. I was blessed to have that.
So, I mean, I have several friends that are currently battling cancer or that have in the past. And there's just not a lot of, there is a lot of talk, but there's also not a lot of talk on this topic, and I would be interested to know from you, like, what is it? Is it just lack of knowledge? Is it that it doesn't seem to be as fast, or it's just not talked about? Like, what is the block, I guess? Because if we know, and I feel like we do, we know the body is a powerful thing and it has the ability to heal, right, itself. Like, what is it? Do people just not realize that? Don't trust it? Is it just unfamiliar?
Really good question.
Is it just unfamiliar? Like, because to me, it's like, if I knew and I could trust that this nutrition is going to be a better opportunity than putting chemicals in my body, it just, to me, it's like a no-brainer, but I know it's not for everybody. And I haven't had the diagnosis, so I'm not judging anybody either, because I don't know how I'd react if I had that diagnosis. But there's a lot of information, but there's also a disconnect. So I'm just trying to figure out what that is. If someone's listening and they're like, yes, I'm hurt, I'm diagnosed, but I just have all these questions and I don't know who to trust.
That's a huge, huge thing. And I'm just going to first off say that's a big can of worms. So
I was going to say, I'll probably just asked 10 different questions.
No, that's good. Those are the questions that light me up because I get super passionate because this is what frustrates me that it's not out there. And there's so much in terms of a lack of freedom of speech and the indoctrination. Like think about what you've been taught and what you've heard about cancer and what you should do for cancer from your birth. Look at all the TV shows. What do they show you?
Yeah.
Look at all the media. What do they say? Look at all your friends. Everybody is saying like, you have to do standard of care. You have to do standard of care. Even though if you look at the actual stats, they're abysmal. And then they start making up stats. Like I love it when I hear from clients like, yeah, I asked my doctor if I did nothing, what would happen? And they start telling them stats about it. I'm like, you don't have those stats. Right. I'm not on the record. Like I know that there are so many people that have done things naturally that have been successful that are not on the radar because they didn't, go back to the standard of care to get, they're just literally making stats up, literally. And I think especially after watching all the COVID stuff, people are starting to wake up that not all of that is accurate, but it's not that the information isn't out there. The other big issue, and this is a huge one, is that in the alternative world, it's a really big Wild West.
Yeah.
It's people will just be like, I want IV vitamin C. I want to do, it's just random. And there's not like any method to the madness. A lot of doctors, and I'm throwing everybody under the bus here. So a lot of natural doctors have invested a ton of money in these clinics where they have all the suites and the stuff, and they have to use those and they're not testing people. And the methodology that I use with my clients that I've been certified in is that, you're looking at the entire terrain of the body. We have 10 areas that we know there's drivers for cancer. And so we have tests that we can see in all of those areas. So we're testing, not guessing. I mean, there's a lot of things where like people are using conflicting therapies or they're just pulling stuff out and it's not necessarily appropriate to them at all. So my mentor, Dr. Naisha Winters, has an amazing vision. She's building a functional hospital and she's doing a research platform for all her practitioners so that we can see when everyone uses this methodology, what are the actual stats and outcomes. So this is not done yet. If you want to donate, let me know. But this is something because this question is real. And when standard of care says, well, what are your stats? Like no one's doing it the same. So there are no stats. And that's a huge problem in our field.
So do you also help those that like, maybe it's in their, family, or it's just a fear they have and they want to do some preventative work ahead of time. So are you just kind of treating those that already have a diagnosis of cancer, or are you also from a prevention standpoint?
That's a great question because only like 5% of cancer is truly genetic.
Yeah.
And it's good to know, but we have the epigenetics to know now that our diet and lifestyle can flip those genes on and off to make sure that this is not your destiny.
Right.
So yes, I do preventative medicine. I've got quite a few clients that, they're getting close to, having things go sideways and they want to prevent it. They have family members and things that, predispose them. They're thinking probably there's an issue going on. I have a lot of clients that have done standard of care. And then they come back and they're like, okay, I want to do the functional work to make sure it doesn't come back. Right. Because that like cloud hanging over you of like, is it coming back? With every scan you have to do every 6 months, like that is not a fun quality of life. That's not what we're living for. Yeah. So the whole spectrum, we can look at it with functional medicine. I work with clients that have done standard of care or are doing standard of care alongside that. I think I tend to get a little less people that are actually looking at standard of care though than the average person though, just because of my own personal story. But there's a time and a place for standard of care.
Yeah. Do you mind sharing a little bit more about your story and your personal journey with this?
No, not at all. Okay. Not at all. I am happy to get it out there because it's my story and it's why I'm passionate about this. So When I had my fifth baby, I was nursing him, and he was about a year old. And I had like a mastitis, and I knew what to do. I did all my stuff, and I had noticed like there was about a golf ball size lump. Mm-hmm. And when I took care of, the mastitis, it was still there, which bizarrely didn't scare me that much because I'm like, I'm a nursing mom. My boobies are shifting. They're always kind of lumpy, whatever. But my mom then pulls out this, you need to get this taken care of. And she was kind of freaking out. I'm like, what's the deal? Like, and she then tells me how my grandmother had a double mastectomy, and she wasn't 100% sure, but she thought that was because of cancer. I'm like, I'm sorry, what? You don't know this? Like, what? Right. It was this very weird out of nowhere thing. So that was driving her fear. So I looked into it and did 2 different blood tests that were on the market at the time that have been pulled. They're still available in Europe, which says something, but they can tell not only, yes, you have cancer, but this is the tissue of origin, which was the breast. So it wasn't like metastasis from some other place or something.
Right.
And that's when I kind of was like, okay, I need to investigate this further. And I had been doing a lot of kind of more GAPS, Weston Price kind of diet. And I'm like, well, maybe something's wrong with that. Maybe that's not working for me. And I jumped on the plane and went to a Gerson clinic with my mom. And I was reading up on this, and I'm like, I just have these questions. I kept asking questions and no one was answering my questions. Why are you giving me thyroid medication without testing my thyroid? Why can't I eat salt? That's important. Why can't I eat any fat? Like, these are questions I don't quite understand. And by the 3rd day, the director of the facility came and sat me down and was like, Katrina, you need to trust in the process or you need to leave.
Wow.
And I'm like, I'm sorry. You don't have answers for me. Why would I trust my life with someone that can't tell me why we're doing this crazy protocol, which I don't want to bash Gerson. I think there's a lot of validity to a lot of aspects of it.
Right.
But, this is a life or death circumstance. I take that very seriously. And I had 5 children at home that I wanted to live for.
Right.
So I got kicked out after 3 days. And then I was like in the free fall.
Right. Yeah.
Now what do I do?
Right.
And I was really blessed to find a functional practitioner that started running all the labs, which is similar to what I do now, and putting together a protocol for me of what was off. It wasn't what I thought. Like, I had been taking fermented cod liver oil for years, but my vitamin D levels were in the toilet.
Yeah.
All these kinds of things that I had assumed were going well because I was doing the right things for them. But after we dug in, I realized genetically, that wasn't really working for me. I needed to do, a different way and such.
Right.
And through a lot of the training that I've done on the other side, I realized that we had moved into the house we're in about 8 months before I found the lump, and there was black mold in the house.
Wow.
I did not know what I didn't know. And my husband ripped it out. He had no masks. I had no mask on. And we knew, we didn't want that in our house, but we didn't take any precautions. It was like a disaster.
Right.
Like, my worst nightmare as a practitioner. And it was a form of a carcinogenic mold, which is known to give cancer. So why did I get cancer, not my husband? I have sucky detox pathways. He is a rock star at that. So everybody's different. And it was interesting to see with the, multiple kids there, which ones had some symptoms later on and which ones didn't and such.
I bet that produced a little bit of fear, like thinking about that they were all exposed, right?
Still does. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So in just kind of a generalized, overall women's health, like you mentioned vitamin D. And I know for me, when I went to go kind of get some tests run, that was really the only thing I was highly deficient in was the vitamin D. And so I started taking, the vitamin D drops, and I didn't really feel like I was deficient in it. I didn't really like the whole tiredness and some of the things they said. I'm like, I really didn't feel that. So is there specific things, like if someone's listening and maybe that's their goal for this year, is to just really pay attention and get really in tune with their own health and maybe go, they're they're wanting to kind of go, not against the system, but wanting to kind of figure out a better way, right? A more cleaner way to look at their health overall. What are some, I don't know, 4 or 5 things that they should be having tested, or they should be supplement wise, they should be taking, or you mentioned some type of diet. I didn't recognize the diet that you were talking about, but is there a specific nutrition plan, or is everybody just so uniquely different? We all have a different DNA. So I do know that, but just would love to know what your thoughts are on that.
That's an amazing question, Martine. So it's a really big one.
It is.
I want to say that
10-part questions.
I know. That's okay. So yeah, if I miss part of it, loop back around.
Okay.
So as moms, we are notorious for putting everyone else first. And so it's the cliche of put your own air mask on first.
Right.
And I just want to really validate, if you have had babies, even if it's just one, that depletes your body. And as our American culture, nowadays moms are doing all the stuff and they got the jobs and stuff, and they don't even skip a beat.
Yeah.
They just keep on going, and they're not necessarily having a nutrient dense diet. They're not necessarily digesting well. They're not necessarily taking any supplements. And it's a really big issue. So I definitely think that is a huge, low hanging fruit.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of diet, generally getting processed food out, getting lower carb intake, that's going to mess the blood sugar up. So depending on where you're at, that's really bio-individual, like you mentioned, in terms of how low do you have to get the carbs out. Like with my cancer clients, we're getting really strict because that will feed cancer. If you don't have, any issues necessarily, that may not be needed, but just generally getting more of the bread and pasta and just nutrient depleted food that actually sucks nutrients out of you to digest, that would be a good thing.
Right.
The big one that people are not talking about enough, in my opinion, but I think that people kind of know now, is the vegetable oils. Those are so inflammatory, and they're in everything if it's processed. So I am so excited that there's some companies now like Siete and such that are having even chips that are not made with the canola oil and the vegetable oil, but most processed food is going to have those highly inflammatory oils in it, which it doesn't look any different or taste any different. But it's really bad on what it does to your body. In terms of supplements, I can't stress enough that you really should test, don't guess, because you won't know. So I'll just go a little deeper on the vitamin D. So for me, my vitamin D was really, really low. And I had been taking cod liver oil, like I said, and I'm I'm going to double down. I'm going to take triple the dose of the cod liver oil for 3 months. Mm-hmm. And it went up not a single point.
Wow.
Okay, I will be open-minded. I will take another form. And I went with the highest, best grade out there. I took it really high dose for 3 months. Mm-hmm. Nothing. I did that with 4 other brands of all the brand names, the really high practitioner quality ones. Nothing. And I finally, this is kind of funny. I don't know what prompted me. I found this one on Amazon. Sports Research. It's in coconut oil. And I think the coconut oil, the little soft gel, the coconut oil really pulled me in because it's a fat soluble vitamin. So you need some fat. But some of the other ones had fat. So I don't know why this one did, but when I got my test back, I got an attachment with a notice of approaching the levels of toxicity because I was at 125. And I'm woo-hoo, toxic. My kids and I all did a dance around the house that day. We were so excited, which was so funny. Why would you be excited that you're too high? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It had been such a hard thing. And if I had just said, oh, I'm taking it, I never would have known that I was not getting any benefit from those brands. And now I know I have a genetic issue that I don't do very well getting vitamin D in. So is that brand magic? I don't know. It was magic for me. That's what I'm going to stick with. But everybody's different on that. So look at it.
Hey, friend. So you have been trying to make some shifts this year. Maybe you set some resolutions and you're just feeling stuck. You don't feel like you're making progress, or you're just not sure what to do. And you've heard me say this before, but being stuck is a mindset, not a position. And this is where a coach comes in to support you. Because here's what I know to be true about you, friend. If you could have done it alone, you would have already done it, period. And as a life coach and a certified PDP professional, I specialize in using a research-based personality and performance survey called the ProScan to illuminate how your unique personality and natural strengths, your work and life environments are influencing real-time performance. So here's what you need to do. Go to the link in the show notes and book your free clarity call to learn more about how I can support you in your goals. I can't wait to illuminate your strengths, cultivate your confidence, and elevate your life. So testing, how often should someone be testing, and what kind of, can you speak to, is there some generalized testing that women should be doing, like every 3 months, every 6 months, every year? Can you kind of speak to a little bit of that?
Yeah, I would say if you're not having any acute issues, that doing a comprehensive blood panel per year would be good. Now, I'm laughing because I actually put a story on Instagram like 2 days ago about this, because people come to me every day and they're like, oh, I just did labs. My doctor ran a ton of labs. Mm-hmm. And there's this huge long laundry list, and it's 2 panels. It's a comprehensive metabolic panel, and it's a complete blood count with differentials. Now together, these cost about $10. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
They're fabulous markers, but these are not the good ones. These are the cheap ones. And this is a lot of times, even with my cancer clients, this is what the oncologists run. I'm like, oh, you are missing the boat. So I want to look at things like the hemoglobin A1C to look at their blood sugars. I want to look at their insulin usually, especially if they're having any kind of symptoms. I definitely want to look at their hsCRP. So that's going to be a measure of inflammation, especially important with cancer clients. I want to look at like the homocysteine to see if they're methylating. So probably your people have heard about MTHFR SNPs, the genetic issues where you don't methylate well. That's the homocysteine is then seeing it play out. How is that actually doing today? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I want to look at ferritin as well as their iron panel, especially if people are tired, especially for moms that have had lots of babies that might have had an anemia that wasn't picked up on. You know, it goes a lot more than the hemoglobin only kind of approach. Those are probably my favorites. And I know I'm probably forgetting some things, but the vitamin D is a good one as well. Really important to look at all those things to see what's going on and how things are interacting with each other.
So do you feel
the thyroid panel? You definitely need thyroid panel. I knew I forgot something. With antibodies. So not just the TSH. This is huge because if we don't have the energy production or thyroid working well, it's really hard. And today, I'm going to go into the functional ranges. So just a quick look on this.
Go ahead.
The functional ranges. So the lab ranges are what the lab puts on the lab test as where it should be in. And those are actually determined by everyone that is taking the test, an average. Mm-hmm. And then they do like 2 standard deviations on either side. Okay. Mm-hmm. So it's just a nice little bell curve.
Right.
Nothing to do with who feels good or what's healthy, right? Did you get that? Yeah. This is statistical garbage.
Right. Yeah.
So in terms of actually looking at the ranges, the functional range is usually much narrower. Sometimes it's completely different from the lab range. And that's where people are actually healthy and where they feel good.
Yeah.
And that's crazy that we look at the lab ranges versus the functional ranges. So make sure that when you interpret them, that you have somebody that's looking at the functional ranges. And with thyroid, you'd want to look at all the markers to see where the breakdown is happening, if there's a problem. Mm. And if it's Hashimoto's, you want to know if it's autoimmune and look at those antibodies.
Really so important. Good. So much information. And
yeah, sorry. Like a water
it's good. It's good. I mean, it just reminds me, you have to be such your own advocate, right? Your best advocate for your own health, and don't just take one answer as the answer. Or if you're feeling that something's not right, or you're not getting the information. I think especially as women, we're afraid to upset someone or hurt someone's feelings because we went to see, I just had this with a friend of mine who just got diagnosed with leukemia, and I'm not going to say it right, large granular leukemia. Anyway, went to one doctor and then, really felt more comfortable with this other doctor who actually specializes in that kind of leukemia. And she said, but I really liked that person. I don't want to, make them feel bad. I'm like, they're probably not even thinking about you. I mean, to be honest, I'm not saying that to be ugly, but like, be your own best advocate. And if you have a better connection with this one, you feel like you're getting the results and the information and the support over here, then it's okay to do that.
Oh, I can't, yes, 100 million times. Yes. You have to, especially if you're on some kind of a health journey like cancer, but even if it's something, autoimmune or something else that's not maybe life and death, you have to find the person that you resonate with, that you gel with. I tell all my clients in the initial consult, like, listen, if we don't gel, if you're not feeling it, like, please don't work with me, because this is hard work. The functional work is very hard. Yeah. And we have to be able to communicate well, and you have to trust me and feel good about what we're talking about and stuff. And if this isn't working, like, please, I'll help you find somebody else, because that is foundational and super important. And you're not going to hurt anyone's feelings. And that it needs to be, you are the patient, you are the client, you need to be first. Yeah. Don't ever feel bad about that.
Yeah, for sure. An interesting thing, topic is how people can find out how or why they have cancer.
Yeah.
You want to speak to that just a little bit?
Yeah. So
this is also interesting to me. So don't feel like you're boring me. I was an exercise science major. So like I'm into the stuff.
Diving in. Okay. Well, determining how and why your body got cancer is a lot of testing. So the way that I approach it is, I look at it as like, as a practitioner, I am not curing cancer. Like, I just have to state that. Yeah. What I do is I am going to use some testing to unearth some smoking guns as to what was blocking your body from doing its own job. So your immune system is designed to actually look for those cancer cells and take care of them.
Right.
And that is harder and harder nowadays with all the chemicals and toxicity and different things that we have going on. It's just much more difficult for our bodies to do that. So in order to figure out what drove your body to being blocked, to not be able to fight the cancer in it, you want to do some testing. So there's, like I said, there's 10 areas that can drive the cancers, and it's different for each person. And you can do some general guessing of which of those terrain are going to be based on the certain type of cancer. So for like breast cancer, toxins are a big one. The metabolism, so the blood sugar dysregulation is a big one. Hormones are a big one. These are things that you hear people talking all about. Like, so for me, the blood sugar, I was totally insulin resistant. And I just have to say, people get really defensive about insulin resistance. You don't feel bad at all with insulin resistance. You feel really good because you got a lot of blood sugar running around, and it's staying around, kind of thing.
Yeah.
The hormones, I had come off that pregnancy. I was totally estrogen dominant and in a really big way, but I didn't really feel bad. I didn't have any symptoms besides what I was attributing to just kind of being tired from having a baby, and moving in the last year. There's a lot of other things, but those are the big ones for me. And then, of course, the mold toxicity with the toxin terrain and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's just a matter of going through. So what I like to do as a functional practitioner is I'll run all the tests up front with cancer clients. If they're not actively cancering, I'll pick what is most appropriate based on the symptoms. But with cancer, there's a time thing going on, and we want to find all of the smoking guns. I have had so many clients that come to me that are like, well, I went to this person and they said I had this. I'm like, and what else?
Right.
It's not one thing. It's like 4 or 5 of those 10 things. And we want to make sure we get them all on the table at the beginning so we can see what we're dealing with. Is there Epstein-Barr? Is there a mold exposure? There's some kind of parasite going on? Like, what are all the things? And then, we can create a plan to get those resolved and balanced out based on, what all is going on.
And is there a certain point in someone's diagnosis that they are too far gone to come to you?
Not necessarily. It's going to be more of things will be more difficult. Mm-hmm. So when you do things like the chemo and radiation and stuff, there's going to be health repercussions and make it difficult because the body is struggling to, bounce back from the chemo. And that does make it a lot more difficult. So sometimes there's more strategic interventions you have to have, like even just the doing the keto diet, that's going to be really hard for somebody if they can't cook, if they can't stand up. And then they're depending on somebody else. Do they have that caregiver that can come in and do all the stuff? So it just gets more difficult.
Yeah. Yeah. So would your recommendation be like if someone's newly diagnosed is that they actually, seek out someone like you and kind of have that conversation and see if it's a fit or if it's a journey, kind of understanding what the journey is going to look like from a traditional to, your approach, and then just making a decision which one they want to do, or like you said, you said you have done both, where some patients come in, they're doing a little bit of both. Is that right?
Yeah.
Probably not what you prefer, but, cause you probably, it's not
I've
best
seen
for
clients.
them.
Yeah. I've seen clients, that have had where they've had their diagnosis and that's it. Some will like, oh, I did surgery, but I don't want chemo and radiation. Let's work on this. Or some are like, I did everything. I know it ruined my body. I've learned more now, and I want to go back and explore. So you can play with it anywhere along there. Some clients are wanting to do things with standard of care, and that can get a little tricky because a lot of times the oncologists don't want you taking anything. If I give them my recommendations, they'll be like, no, just don't take anything, because they're not familiar. They're not trained in nutrients.
Yeah.
They don't know what the interactions could be. And they just like dismiss it all, which is incredibly frustrating to the client, because then the work they're doing is very invalidated. And a lot of times, there's this idea that the doctor knows everything. Mm-hmm. They're not necessarily trained in the stuff that we're working on. So, they're making a blanket decision, but I can't say that, legally, I can't go against what the doctors say, which is a whole nother can of worms.
Yes,
right?
It is.
So it can look like a lot of different things for depending on what the client wants to do and and at the end of the day, I really want to honor and respect my clients of what is the right fit for you. Mm-hmm. Because a lot of times standard of care kind of shuffles them through super fast. I'm like, oh my gosh, you have this diagnosis. You're going to die. Get in yesterday. And they rush them through starting. And I always wonder, like, how much of that is just a sales technique? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. How much of that is really like, because the clients that I get that have had issues, that's not the case. They're not going to die tomorrow if they didn't do it. This takes months and years to develop for most people. And they really should respect and honor their bodies by looking into things. Look at several different practitioners, even if they're just oncologists. Find the oncologist that you resonate with. It doesn't have to be the person that's closest to you or that you went to first. You find the person that will listen to you and respect you, and that you feel good about, because at the end of the day, you have one body. Yeah. You can't get a new body. And if you screw it up, or, you can't really undo a lot of the stuff that they're doing, and you want to take care of it and honor it and be a good steward of what you've been given, because it's a gift and it's hard. You don't want to be bullied into stuff.
Right. Right. So if you go to your doctor, like your annual visit for a woman, and they run the reports, is there something specific we should be asking them to run, like extra on top of, like, I think you said that one comprehensive panel? Like, I know it has like your lipids and things like that. Should we be asking for other things too, or is that in that one comprehensive? I'm asking really for my own self, because I'm due for my annual. I'm like, do I need to ask for more reports? Like, should I be asking for more?
Yeah, Martina, I'd be happy to send you a list of like what's in. When I said comprehensive panel, that's what I call it. And it's the things that I have bundled together for my comprehensive panel. It's not necessarily like your doctor would know what that is. They usually run the CBC with differentials and a CMP. Okay. And that's typically it. But I can give you the list of, you can post it for your listeners of the markers that I usually run. And that's what I would do for somebody kind of generically as a, screening to see what's going on. It gives you a really good frame of like the whole picture. Now, if you don't know all the functional ranges and how the different markers connect with each other, because it's not, most of them are not like vitamin D, take vitamin D. They're okay, look at this. There's a lot of liver markers or things that can be connected. Let's look at the liver. It's kind of patterns that we're looking at as well. And, that's where you might need somebody's help with looking at that and interpreting it, but getting those markers can be super helpful.
Yeah. Yeah. So if someone comes to you and they're wanting to work with you, is there a certain time frame? Like, is it a 3-month, a 6-month? Is it just however long it takes to help them develop some of those new healthy habits, watching those things? Is there ever a time where you feel like you can release the patient, or is it just you're always there to kind of work with them?
Yeah.
That is
So
someone's thinking, what is this process? Like we were familiar with the chemo and the radiation and that, but like, what does this process actually look like from start?
Yeah. So for a cancer client, it looks like we start off and we have a year-long package. So that's going to include all the functional testing to start, as well as all the interpretations and all the services for a year as they go through dealing with whatever shows up. Now, I don't include retest because I don't know what's going to show up.
Right.
Supplements. I'm going off a little tangent here. So
all is welcome here. It's okay.
So with like traditional oncology, chemotherapy gets direct kickbacks to the doctor, cash in pocket, which is highly offensive to me. Like that's a conflict of interest big time. And in my industry, they do the same thing pretty much. Any supplements you buy, usually there's a markup of like 50%. And that's known to be a thing where that's part of how we make our money. I don't play that game because I don't want to be doing what I'm criticizing the oncologist for doing.
Right.
So I sell the supplements that I recommend at wholesale. I make nothing and I only make it on my services. So part of that is you get your supplements for wholesale kind of thing.
Right. Right.
So that's part of the year-long package, which again, if you're dealing with something crazy like mold or something, that's going to, the supplements alone will save you thousands. For somebody that does not have cancer, we would put together a package based on what we would recommend in the initial consult that we've seen that probably would be a good fit. So if they come in and their hormones are all over the place, let's run the hormone panel. Maybe there's some stuff in the blood work we want to look concurrently with it, that kind of thing. I had a client last week and she's talking about the hormones and I start digging in a little more and I'm like, oh, this is not a hormone issue. This is a mold issue. Let's run the mold test first and see if that's what we're dealing with. So it depends on the discussion that we have. And based on that, we'll do a service package that's appropriate.
Yeah.
Cancer, I just know it's going to be at least a year. Yeah. Depending on like, is this somebody starting right at the beginning and it's kind of straightforward and they deal with their stuff really quick? How fast do they implement things? Right. All that. Right. Versus some people, if they're really, intense stage 3, they're, taking a long time to implement things. We're having to do layers and layers and layers. They might need to up it and have another year. But we structure it very different than the traditional insurance model, which is like, you don't even know what you're paying for. It's insane. I don't understand how a business can run that when they can't tell me their prices. Right? You guys are all entrepreneurs.
I wish y'all could see her face in some of these questions.
Well, I mean, as an entrepreneur, isn't it offensive that this industry gets away with not posting their prices and not giving you straight answers as to what the prices are? That's super offensive to me as a consumer.
Yeah. Yeah. Just be honest, be real, be upfront. I get it. So I want to shift gears a little bit to Pilates because I am super interested in that and some of the things. So are you still actively teaching Pilates and do you certify people also?
Yeah. So our studio is actually in Phoenix. Okay. And my husband's also an instructor and he runs the studio and we run it remotely, which is a whole nother discussion entrepreneur wise. At this point, I'm not seeing regular clients ongoing. I do some assessments with my nutritional clients because I want to look at the entire body. And sometimes I'm like looking at things on the intake form. I'm like, oh, I just have to see you move on this because I'm pretty sure that there's some dysfunction in your SI joint or something, whatever. And so we can tie that in. But we did just launch a new online version of our Pilates teacher training that I'm so excited for because we're bringing in a whole comprehensive business course as the bonus, which is super exciting because you know what, like you can have so much freedom and do a really great side hustle with Pilates in terms of you can work at a studio and set your own hours. I mean, what other job can you do that with? You can work at a gym or, Club Pilates or something, but you can also, this is actually how I started. You can also work out of your house or work online now, which is really exciting to have all those options because you can just work a couple hours a week or you could work 40 hours a week. It's totally up to you. Yeah. And I started out of my apartment before I even got married. and had a bedroom that had all the equipment in it, and clients would come to my house. I did set the boundary that it was no men, just to be safe as a young single woman. But it was a great, job that I can totally, I get so excited with all the opportunities. We have tons of moms that only teach while their kids are in school, which is nice because those are actually the prime hours for Pilates privates and stuff.
Yeah.
And I've done the math, and for usually Pilates instructors are earning between $30, $50 an hour. Those are kind of low. My instructors earn way more than that. And, if you multiply that out and do the math, if you're earning $50 an hour and you're working 40 hours a week, I mean, that's over $100,000 a year, which is crazy cool math.
Yeah. And doing something that you love. I mean, I feel like with Pilates, you have to love it to do it, to go through the certification and all of that. So I'm interested, what does muscle balancing mean?
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to just talk about say your knee, because it's kind of a more straightforward joint. But for your knee, you have muscles that will bend the knee, and then you have muscles on the other side of the joint that will straighten the knee. And they should be in balance. And if they're not, the actual joint is not going to track properly, which can lead to inflammation, which can lead to eventual, problems and injuries and such. It's setting itself up for a weak link, that then, you do something, you're like, oh, I just bent over. No, you didn't just bend over. This was a muscle imbalance beforehand. And so what we do with Pilates is we work to get the alignment properly and the muscles balanced so that there's less pain and joint inflammation, and there's less chance for injuries. It's a really great post-rehab. That's a lot of the work that we do at our studio is more post-rehab kind of specialty. But it's amazing what it can do for the body in terms of general well-being.
Yeah. Well, when you mentioned knee, I injured my knee snowboarding 2 years ago. I bruised the bone and sprained the MCL, and it was literally one of the most painful things. I felt like my leg had been cut off. It was awful. But I think about, okay, well, was there an imbalance there? I mean, yes, I did fall, and the board went one way and my knee went the other way, and the pop was there and all of that. But I could not have made it through had I not had some type of therapy, physical therapy afterwards, because it was super painful. So as soon as you said knee, I was like, oh, my knee. It reminded me of
I'm sorry.
That's good. But it was something I could relate to,
No, so this is a great example. So with snowboarding, I'm a snowboarder myself, so I can relate. The way that we put the stance on the board, when you are getting in line at the lift, the 1 foot's free. A lot of times there's a twist at the knee on the leg that's still strapped in. So, if you're not goofy footed, that'd be your left leg. Is that the one you got injured with?
Yep.
So, that is going to create a muscle imbalance. Just doing the little pedaling around with that leg all the time is going to create a muscle imbalance. So this is where Pilates can proactively, preventatively work on that to balance it out so there's less likelihood of an injury. But at the same time, when you have something traumatic, like a huge fall like that, sometimes that's enough on its own. There may not necessarily be a huge muscle imbalance but But it definitely can be used then post work to bring it back into balance and support the joint structure as much as possible.
Well, I used to do Pilates years ago. It's been a long time. And so this is encouraging me or inspiring me there's a studio right across the street that I don't know anything about. I've heard people talk about it, but I did love it when I was doing it. But when I moved where I am now, I didn't really know of a local place to do it. So I do know now, and I just need to get back into it. Because I do work out every single day, but I lift. And I love what you said, how people exercise smarter, not harder. And I'm definitely more of the go-getter, not a heavy lifter, but I do love to lift opposed to cardio. But Pilates to me was like a good mix of two. I felt like it really did help me on the strength, but then my flexibility was also included in there. So it was the best of both worlds.
Okay, so here's my help. Whether you're doing Pilates or not, so even if you're lifting or something, even if you're doing cardio or something, look for what you suck at. So usually the exercises that you don't do well and you don't feel like you're really accomplishing, those are where the muscle imbalances are usually. So make it a little easier if needed, really double down on getting the alignment right, because you don't want to be training bad habits or cheating, to kind of make it work, and then really focus on those. Because what happens, okay, so like when I go and work out myself, I can list to you my muscle imbalances and the areas I need to work on. But if I just go over to the reformer, I'm pointing over there, that's not what I do. I'm going to do the stuff I'm good at because it makes me feel good about myself, right?
It's like, I don't like working shoulders. I don't like working shoulders.
I know. Yes, exactly. We do the things that we're good at because it makes us feel good about ourselves. So just put it on your radar, do what you suck at, and, throw yourself a bone every once in a while, do the things that you like. You'll do those anyways, though.
Yeah.
That way you'll get the balancing effect in whatever kind of modality you're doing, whether it's Pilates or something else.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. So one last question that I wanted to ask you about is burnout. This is a topic that I like to talk about with this, like my passion and my mission with mompreneurs is so many of them are living in a constant state of burnout. I'm sure you've seen that too in your practice. Have you personally experienced burnout? If you have, what did it feel like for you? And how did you kind of course correct it and now kind of prevent yourself from going into it?
Oh, that's a really good question. Yeah. So, through the launching of this Pilates training, I was also working on my, the whole family thing, the homeschooling thing. That's a lot. But also we were doing a lot of development and expansion with the cancer program and my clients there. So there was like a double of workload. And I'm like, we're going to get it done. We're just going to get it done. Press through. It's going to be over soon. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's a year later. It's not done yet. Like, it needs to be done. And just at the beginning of this year, I was really talking with my husband about like, I need to make sure that I plan in fun. I set boundaries of I'm not allowed to work after, these hours. I always go to bed at this time ish. Some of those kinds of things. For me, I need to plan in that I have really sucky detox genes, like I said. So I need to make sure that I'm doing some self work. So for me, coffee enemas are my favorite, easy, quick go-to.
Yeah.
I need to get in my sauna, which I haven't been, but again, there's like good, better, best. So for me, putting those in, I've also done some lab work to double check on some areas because, that's an area, stress is one of the drivers of cancer. And for me, I take that very seriously because I don't want to have to deal with cancer again.
Yeah.
So yes, I'm going to live my life and yes, there's going to be stress in it, but I got to keep it in check.
Yeah.
And this is something that I'm super passionate about because we're doing a retreat for cancer clients. And it's like, this is all the stuff, all the functional testing that we just talked about, but I want to do it in a fun way and do it in a stress-free way because we don't need to be scared out of our wits, going to the oncologist. Let's do it and have fun. And we can learn about all the epigenetics and the hormone imbalances while we lay by the pool and sip keto mocktails and have a non-toxic pedicure.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. That sounds amazing.
Is my thought.
I'm seriously thinking of my friends right now that have cancer. I'm like, I need to tell them they need to go to this retreat. That sounds amazing.
I would love to have them. And it's taking things very seriously because health is a serious issue and it can go sideways very, very quickly. But at the same time, you want to give yourself grace, good, better, best. It doesn't have to always be perfection. And I think a lot of us entrepreneurs tend to always want to have that excellent standard and it has to be perfect.
Yeah.
And it doesn't always have to be perfect. We have to be okay with, this is how it is for now. And I'm going to give myself grace on that. And then eventually I'll shore it up later more.
Yeah. Something came up for me when you were talking about stress. And I've said this a couple of times on the podcast, just to the extremes that we went to during the pandemic to wear the things and do the things and all of that. But stress is going to kill more people than COVID ever will, right? Because of the illnesses that it creates. But we don't do anything about it. Like we just, especially as when we just accept that, well, this is just how it's supposed to be. I'm supposed to be hustling all the time. And I'm supposed to be wearing all these hats. And they're living in a constant state of burnout, which is causing them to be sick on all levels, right? And it's just, I don't know, it's just really interesting to me. And I keep saying this, I'm like, just think about what you did during that pandemic time. The extremes you went to protect yourself or to prevent or whatever side of the coin you are on that. And that's a whole other can of worms. We won't talk about that. But like, if you took those same measures right? To protect your mindset, to protect and set boundaries, to not work yourself to death, to create those moments, whatever it is, coffee enema or, going outside and grounding or whatever it is, just finding out what you need to help reduce your stress. I worked in cardiac rehab for 7 years and I saw young individuals come in and get quadruple bypass. And it was because of stress. Like they were marathon runners, but they were under a lot of stress. So I don't know. I just get fired up about that because we saw the extremes that everybody went to. And I'm thinking, now, why don't we do the same thing when it comes to your stress level, especially as women?
Exactly. And I'll tell you one thing, like with digestion, talking about the microbiome and everything is the cool thing, but people aren't talking about the fact that you have an acid wash that should coat all your food with your hydrochloric acid in your stomach. And that would kill any parasites, and it's going to start to break down your food. So when people have all these food sensitivities, I'm always looking at that HCl level first. Well, to connect it back to the stress, the things that deplete your body and make it not make enough HCl are stress and dehydration. And during the pandemic, I mean, it was insane. The levels of issues with the HCl, it was like, people's need for HCl was at the max throttle. I'm like, you're not making any. This is crazy.
Yeah.
But it really does take a toll on the body. And so, then you're spending all this time eating and you're getting none of it. And like, it's a big mess. You're not getting the nutrients you're trying to ingest and you're just spinning your wheels at best. Not going backwards. It's a huge thing. And it's so intangible for so many people, but we have concrete markers on these tests to see when you're stressed and see what's going on, that even if you don't know you're stressed, we can see it.
Yeah.
Which is really powerful. Yeah.
It is. It is. Well, we could talk for like 2 hours on all of these topics. You're so easy to talk to and just full of knowledge. So we're going to definitely include all of the links to things so people can stay connected to you. I don't know if you have a link for your retreat coming up or it's probably already full, but if not, what the next ones are. I know you have a book coming out too. So do you want to share with them how they can get that? And we'll put the link in the show notes, but they just go to...
Yeah, it's nutritionalpilates.com.
Okay.
And there is a sign up where you can, for your listeners, I would love to give you all a free hard copy. So you just have to let me know where to mail it to.
That's awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on the show. Like I said, we could talk about this for like each section. I'm like, oh, we could have dove into that for an hour. We could have dove into that for an hour. So maybe we'll have you back on sometime. But thank you so much for taking the time to share your story, and to share the truths that are not always easy for people to hear and hard to talk about and can of worms that gets open. But the more that we're willing to have these conversations, the more people will learn, right? And the more they'll know. And knowledge is power. So thank you so much, Katrina. This was awesome.
Thank you, Martine. This was fabulous.
Well, thank you, friends, for tuning in to the episode today. Again, we'll have all of the links to connect with Katrina, and I will catch you on the next episode. I'm always believing in you. Well, that's a wrap, friends, for this week's episode of the Mompreneur Life Remixed podcast. Thank you so much for listening and for following the show. It means so much to me. And listen, friend, sharing is caring. So if you loved this episode and thought of some fellow mompreneurs who could benefit, send them the link. Share this episode or take a screenshot and head on over to Instagram and share and tag me at Martine31Williams. We are connected on Instagram, right? It's where you will get all the fun behind the scenes of my life and business as a mompreneur. Until next time, know that I am believing in you always.